Our fine conference.
Oh, well, yeah, they had
Good
it.
evening. Good evening and welcome to tonight's P and Z meeting, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. First item on our regular agenda is approval of our September 11th minutes.
I'll move approval.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Victoria?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Nels?
Aye.
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 Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Aye. All right, quick enough. Next up, so motion moved. Next up is a public comment where you may come, the public can come and speak to us on anything on their mind that's not on the agenda tonight, nor pending before the Planning and Zoning Commission. We meet every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, and would love to have you come down if you have anything to say. Okay. Number 3, public hearing for a proposed rezone of 9.08 acre of land located at the 1700 blocks of Mix Road within the area of city impact from agriculture forestry zone to farm ranch zone, and a proposed preliminary subdivision plat for said land with lots ranging from 3.2 acres to 3.03 acres in size, referred to as a Mix Road subdivision. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So before you tonight, we have a rezone and a preliminary plat for property located at 1700 block of Mix Road. So the applicant's proposing to rezone and plat. It's about 9.08 acres located at that 1700 block in the area city impact. So the proposals, the property is currently in the ag forest zone, and the proposals to go to the farm ranch zone. And then the preliminary plat is to create 3 lots, all about the same size, but ranging from 3.02 to 3.03 acres in size, referred to as Mixed Road subdivision. And then, of course, per the area city impact agreement, the city's supposed to make a recommendation, conduct one public hearing, make a recommendation to the county, and then the county makes the ultimate decision on the application since the property is within the county. So this is the subject property highlighted in red, center of your screen. The green line there is the area city impact boundary. All lands outside of that are in Latah County. So you can see it's just right at the edge of the boundary. Mix Road, see weaving around here. Swede Lane, there's a few different houses that have been constructed here. There's a subdivision that was approved in 2021, similar situation, Farm Ranch, which created 4 lots here. I believe that most of those lots are currently under construction for single-family dwellings currently. So just a closer view of the property, you can see the kind of shared common access drive being constructed for those houses on the east side of Mix Road. The comp plan map, so currently designated as rural and agricultural, as well as all the surrounding property, and then transitions to more auto urban residential as you go south on Mix Road. So taking a look at what the comp plan states for rural and agriculture is to allow continued use for agricultural purposes with allowances for very limited residential development at very low densities. Areas shown as agriculture on the future land use plan are outside the 10-year growth area and beyond the area for which the city is prepared to provide adequate facilities and services during the horizon of the comp plan. Residential development options allow septic, well, and or septic public water where applicable and warranted at very low densities consistent with the intended agricultural character. And then it points to the appropriate zones, which are ag forest and farm, ranch, and outdoor recreation, the FR zone. So it brings us to the zoning configuration of the area, currently designated as ag forest, as well as property to the south and to the southeast. All the property in the county there to the north and to the west is also zoned ag forest as well. The property for the 4-lot subdivision to the north and the east of Mix Road is farm ranch. And the applicant's proposing to rezone this property to farm ranch as well. So looking at farm ranch in the zoning code, it's intended to permit current agricultural, outdoor recreation, and other open land uses to be maintained at the same time. Set minimum standards for the development of similar new uses in order that this open zoning district may be protected against spasmodic, disorderly, and indiscriminate development, until such time as another appropriate use of the land as zoning district has been determined. And then uses permitted in the farm ranch zone, really just single family dwellings for residential uses. There are urban ag uses like market and community gardens, group childcare facilities, public parks and rec facilities, and bed and breakfast inns. Brings us to the preliminary plat, referred to as mixed road edition. So once again, 9.08 acres, dividing into 3 lots, 2 of 3.03 acres and 1 of 3.02. And this is the preliminary plat, kind of shows building footprint areas and driveway access with turnarounds. This is mixed road that loops around here. And these are the driveway accesses. You can see the individual lots, 1, 2, and 3. And then it also shows, since it's in the county, proposed areas for septic systems located there. Mixed road is designated as a minor arterial. It's 24-foot wide paved roadway, 2 travel lanes, minimal gravel shoulders on both sides. Our engineering department, there's a memo from Todd Drage in there recommending an additional 10 feet of right-of-way be dedicated and that frontage improvements be required as part of the subdivision. So staff recommends the commission conduct a public hearing and upon consideration of testimony received, I recommend approval of the rezone to farm ranch with no conditions, and then recommend approval of the preliminary plat with 2 conditions. The first being the 10-foot dedication of right-of-way along the full frontage of the property adjacent to mixed road to provide 35 feet of width west of the existing center line of mixed road to meet the existing collector street standard. And then the applicant construct public frontage improvements along mixed road in accordance with the City of Moscow standard construction drawings and specifications. And I certainly try to answer any questions you have, but I would like to point out, I think there's one public comment letter that was in your packet, and then we received 2 additional comments via email yesterday and then one today. And it's really up to the chair's discretion whether or not those get included in the record since they were received within 5 days. So I think we've made copy of those, but I just wanted to bring those to your attention.
That Kirk Hardin's trying to be funny.
Is he? I read them. Have you all got any questions for Mike? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Mike, back a few slides, you showed an access road to the property that was already, looked like it was
So
paved.
Rob, you see interviews, don't we?
Sorry.
You see interviews, don't
Oh, okay.
There.
So I saw 3 driveways. I didn't see that road on the plat. Is that separate from, different from?
You're referring to this road?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the east side of mixed road. So that's part of the subdivision that's on the east with the 4 lots. So
Oh,
that-
that's
We're
part of
just
a
inside
different,
the
excuse me.
red. We're just inside the red
Okay,
line.
so that access road is on a different subdivision.
Yeah, yep.
Thank you. That's
Yep.
what I wanted to know.
I just
Who
have
knows?
a question, Mike. Help me. No, has this been presented to the county already? Or does it come to us first?
It comes to us first. So yeah, everything gets submitted to the county and then the county forwards everything down to the city. And then the commission conducts one public hearing, forwards a recommendation to the county. And then the county has, I think, a couple of different options. They can just take the commission's recommendation and not conduct a public hearing. Or if they want to change the recommendation, they can conduct their own public hearing and then make a different determination. So.
Okay. I was, just for background, when was the area of impact that we're using right now, when was that set?
It was 2019.
In
so it was the
19, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was between the county and the city?
Yep.
Just, and so it can vary depending on what side or where it is. It isn't specifically a distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually, I think in general, a quarter mile, but I mean, since then, we've had a number of annexations that have actually gone up to the area city impact. So I'd imagine in the next few years, we'll take a look at that and maybe expand that out to the east. I mean, a lot of these areas are really large and they're not, I mean, for instance, like Eddington property, I mean, it's highly unlikely that that's ever going to get fully developed until 10, 15 years from now.
I was just trying to remind myself of City of Impact, because we haven't dealt with it so much in recent months.
Yeah, this area really hasn't changed a whole lot as far as development. I mean, it's mainly been to the northeast, the east, and to the south. So
Dennis, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
Where is this in relation to Canterwood?
Canterwood is right there.
Canterwood's way out.
Canterwood's way up there.
So yeah, as soon as you
Okay,
head
this is
due
the-
north on Mixed, Canterwood
is the-
starts right here.
Okay, this is the turn. Okay.
Okay, does
Not yet.
anyone else have any questions? Rob,
Not
go ahead.
yet.
Mike, on the 10-foot additional right-of-way, what, is that just going to be along the property boundary on Mixed Road?
It would be, yeah, it would just be the frontage of the property.
But just as so no other parts of the road are going to have the additional 10?
The dedication should have already happened on the property across the street there. And so
Okay.
it would just be, 10 feet of dedication on the property highlighted in red there.
What about everything south of that?
Yeah, it'd just be the portion of Mixed Road adjacent to this property. So
Okay.
none of the other properties, we can't require that of properties that aren't part of the subdivision.
So, and as far as improvements on Mixed Road that's adjacent to that property, other than just the dedication of the right-of-way, no improvements are required?
No.
We recommend improvements every time, but typically the county doesn't
Okay.
accept those. So
But if you don't ask, you never get a yes. So 1B, it's on 1B and the recommendations. The applicant shall construct public frontage improvements along Mixed Road in accordance with the City of Moscow standard construction drawings and specifications. I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Does that 10 feet leave room, is that curb and gutter, or does that leave room for potential city water and sewer?
it would leave room for, all utilities and
There's
curb,
enough
gutter,
room for that.
sidewalk. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Has anyone else got any questions for Mike? Nothing? All right, Mike, thank you. I guess we will open the public hearing now. And maybe hear from the applicant.
I'm Phil Reingans, the applicant and owner of the property. I want to address a couple of concerns of mine. The shape of that particular leg that comes off of the farmland,
Did you give your address? Sorry, I got to do that.
I'm sorry,
Your address?
2700 East D Street, Moscow.
Thank you.
With the geometry of that leg that comes off the farmland, it farms with a lot of overlap. And it's really what we call red acres, the acreage where you have, you'll never make any money because of the overlap. It's a very irregular shape. So when you go to farm it, there's lots of overrun. So usually on those stretches, you farm them so they don't grow up in weeds, but they're generally not really the best areas to farm because of the shape and configuration and the overlap on when the equipment's running through there. So in terms of taking a part off of a farm, that would be an ideal area to truncate off of the side. The other thing I wanted to address was the street improvements. I don't really have a problem with dedicating the 10 feet, but to put curb and gutter when there's no storm drain, so where does the gutter go? There's really not a place for it to drain. So it's going to collect water that's going to wash down the edge of Mixed Road in a consolidated fashion and make a big ditch there rather than running off the road and being able to soak into the ground. And then there'd be sidewalk there as well. And is the homeowner there expected to shovel hundreds of feet of sidewalk when they're, a half mile or a mile from the closest other utilities in town? To me, it doesn't it doesn't seem compatible. So I'm willing to agree to the 10 feet, but to add the city improvements when they don't really have any connectivity to storm drain, to me, doesn't make sense. It seems incompatible with the region, and the requirement doesn't mesh with the rest of the utilities that simply aren't there. I don't have anything else to comment on, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Guys have any questions for Phil? All right, Phil, thank you. Okay, now we'll open it up for anyone that's in favor of the rezone and preliminary plat and
Scott Becker with Hodge and Associates, 405 South Washington. I'd just like to add, I'm in favor of this, obviously. I'm Phil's engineer, but I'd like to just reiterate the frontage improvements. Since I work with the highway district all the time, they really, really hate trying to plow something where there might be, obstacles in the way, and they would see a curb and gutter as an obstacle. They're out there at 2:00 in the morning trying to drive 35 miles an hour and plow snow, and they don't want to have to worry about hitting a curb out in the middle of a rural area. The other thing is that roadway would have to be reconstructed to meet city standards, and I think that makes sense at a time when you bring all the utilities out there and you rip up the road to get the utilities in the roadway. So I think frontage improvements at this time are probably not, and I would ask that you do not recommend that portion. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Scott or no? Okay, thanks, Scott.
I had a question for him.
For Scott?
I think
Can we
so.
give questions for
Does he-
Scott? Yeah.
Did you engineer, are you the person responsible for the Ts and the driveways? Did you design those?
We laid that out as an option.
Okay, so my
Yes.
question is anytime you have a flag lot, you've got to have enough room for fire truck turnaround?
Correct.
So does that meet?
That does.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone in general, just want to talk about this? And the next one is opposed? Or
Does
in
she-
general, you can come up. You want to come up? Can you come up?
Yep, the microphone has to be on the public record.
Well, you can talk into,
Go
like,
ahead. Can you hand?
Oh, use that one.
we can shorten the walk.
Shorten your walk, yeah.
You want to use this one here?
There you go.
So I'm Karen Dowling of 2027 Canterwood Drive. And I think the turnoff to Canterwood, to answer your question, is probably about half a mile from the red line or the green line. Is there any concern about water availability when you guys do these things?
Is there, oh, yeah, there's always concern about water
Yeah, how do you
availability.
figure the impact of that out?
Well, I don't do it. How you do that, Mike?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're using less than half of our water right currently.
Yeah.
And, Palouse Basin Aquifer Committee is really in charge of looking at the broader picture and alternatives to current groundwater we use with the Grand Ron Aquifer. But typically, I mean, there's no council imposed limitation on number of lots, and I'm unfamiliar with that with the county as well, that, you can only have a certain number of lots be constructed each year. And so until there's some type of, constraint on number of lots, then yeah, there's really no,
Right now, there's
not
no
under
constraint, right?
consideration.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Right now, there's no constraint
No.
on lots on the water. So does that answer your question?
So I guess, how do you figure out when you need constraints or when you want to have water? Or, I mean, how much development is going to generally happen in this area? I mean, I just see it coming out. I came in today, I usually don't pass anyone on Mixed Road, and there were 10 cars that passed me. So there's getting a lot more use there. My other question is they just built 3 houses where that new driveway kind of hooks around the curve.
Mhm.
What, are you doing 5 feet on each side, or how do you determine which side you're taking the 10 feet from?
Well, it's just going to be on the south and the west side. So the property's only on the south and west side of Mix Road. So it's
Okay.
just on this location. So the 10 feet would go along that frontage. So essentially it'd be, you have the center line of the street, then you have the right of way. It'd be an additional 10 feet into the lots. from
Oh,
there.
so it's not going to be on the other side?
It already should have happened on the other side,
The dedication.
the dedication.
Okay. I was just wondering about the water, so thank you for answering kinda that question.
Well, they don't have any exact numbers for water,
Right.
but they have indications. And the indication is we still have water. We'll need more as time goes by, which is why PBAC and everybody is looking into creating additional water sources. But they figure we have 50 years to get to that point. So we're not running out of water tomorrow.
Okay,
Mhm.
I just didn't know,
Yeah.
so,
It comes up every time.
yeah.
Every time. Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I mean, this is an issue that comes up quite regularly with new developments. There's nothing in our charter or the codes that we work with that allow us to consider water, but it's always something that needs to be discussed. And so I applaud you for bringing it up, but it's not something that we have the ability to enter into a restriction at this particular point in time,
Okay,
if
Yeah.
that makes any
Dennis?
sense.
Yeah, no, all we can do is just conserve, and I think the city's got a good,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think we're moving into general discussion anyway, so maybe you should.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But I share the concerns over water, and I agree that it is not within our charter as a commission to make any decisions with respect to water availability. I would point out that that it is presumably within the county commission's possible. They presumably have more capability to deal with saying yes or no on development with respect to water concerns. We don't as a commission, but not under these circumstances outside the city.
Sure.
But I share the concerns that some of the concentration off to the northwest, I guess it is, maybe to the extent of where local wells might start drying up.
Yeah.
But I would also point out, however, that the proposed development is relatively close to the northwest corner of where water and sewers are being provided in Moscow. So they are possibly areas where service ultimately might be extended.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing about the sewer and the sidewalks and all that stuff. huh?
The
Yeah.
development that is further out in that direction is really more concerning to me.
Right.
Do appreciate it, because I'm really glad, we're all glad, city council, everybody, that we have citizens who bring up water, because it tells us that everybody's being very conscious about it, and that's important.
Yeah, legitimate concern. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, and I can doubly assure what's been said that all of us on council take water very seriously. And so in those conversations, and there was a handful of us that were just at the PBAC water summit last Tuesday. And so we're definitely in those conversations. And when developments come about and when these types of decisions are happening, like we're definitely paying attention. So yeah, just to offer that to you.
By the way, PBAC is Palouse Basin Water Aquifer Commission or Committee or something like
Yeah.
that. And that's regional.
That's important. We speak too much in.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
we use the acronyms all the time, and it looks regionally, the whole basin. So it takes in Pullman and some of these little towns around. It's the basin, and they're doing very serious studies on water and coming up with alternatives. So
Just as a sort of an overview, I don't know how many of you might have attended the county people running for county commission were at a political discussion a couple nights ago, and the water question invariably comes up. I would say that none of the people running for county commission had an answer. So it's difficult, though it's in there, the question of Latah County, and you decide to buy a piece of property and build a house, and then water, no one promises you water, you dig for it. But it doesn't seem like there's any, until you get within the city, there's hardly any. Our purview is within the city, and right now we're tangentially looking at this property, because chances are in another 20 years, these properties will be in the city, but not in the next few years. Anyway, it's a really, obviously, you ask the question and you're just not going to get an answer, because I don't think people will know what the answer is until we get a serious crisis. Once people can't get water, we'll figure something out. But right now, it doesn't look like we have the will to do that. And I'm talking about the state of Idaho.
because Moscow's being very forward looking.
Yeah, we work on it. Moscow and Pullman work on it harder than lots of people do. But the state of Idaho, it's water rights become a major political issue. I don't mean to just act like it's, as we've said, it's not something that we have the technical ability to deal with, though we try to keep talking about it.
Since we're still
Sue?
in
Yeah.
general testimony, I would like to move that we accept the comment submitted by email, even though it was within 5 days of the meeting.
Oh, yes. Yes. I was going to do that, but thank
Add
you.
them to the record.
Thank you, Sue. You saved me. Okay, anyone else got anything? Any questions or comments or? Scott or Phil, do you guys want to come back up and,
Dennis,
oh, I'm sorry. But
I don't know.
you have to come back up and so we can hear you.
I don't know what questions I'm allowed to ask here, but how does the city decide what to annex? If this is going to be future annexed into the city?
It really hinges on whether or not we can provide services to it. So
Okay.
this is area city impact. It has to be contiguous to the city limits before we can annex a property, and we have to be able to provide services to it. So the nearest services are way down there by the radio station.
Right,
So they're
okay.
quite a ways away. That's why we wouldn't annex this property. It'd remain in the county.
Wouldn't, right now,
No,
yeah.
not right now. I mean, if at some point in the future, the city limits were extended up close to it or contiguous to it, and this proposal was going through, then yeah, we'd want it to be annexed and connected to city services. But since they're such a long ways away and the city limits are way down by the radio station, we can't really reach up here and grab it. So it remains in the county.
Thank you.
That's why we asked about the 10 feet added to the side of the road, because if we leave the road as a county road narrow and at some point it gets annexed to the city, there's no place to provide the services because somebody's house or something might be right there.
Good question.
Thanks, Karen. Go ahead, Joel.
Before we go on,
Yeah.
one more comment. The staff suggested that we should require development to city standards. I think I agree with the futility of that at this point. But would it be possible for us to require that the space be reserved for future?
Is this
Like
getting
what?
That's what
into,
the 10 feet's for.
this getting
Yeah.
into general
Well,
discussion? We still have an
Yeah,
open.
we're supposed to do this discussion after we
Yeah.
close.
Kind of
Oh,
in
yeah.
the middle of everything here. Okay, so you guys don't have anything else right now? Okay. You guys have any more questions for,
He's only
Scott or
been
Phil?
on our commission for a couple of weeks. He doesn't know.
okay, we'll close this public hearing and open it up for discussion. Now you guys can go to town. What, nothing?
Well,
I've done it.
What, what,
Done it all, huh?
what?
I have a
Yeah.
question for Mike. So if we always do suggest it, and the county doesn't do it, but we always do suggest it, what is the reasoning behind that we always do suggest it?
Well, I mean, we have to keep on suggesting it because at some point in time in the future, the city is going to be extended up to that point, and we're going to have a situation like
Right.
Mountain View where we don't have any improvements, and then
Okay.
we're going to be looking at taxpayer-funded improvements or grants in order to extend all those services up to those properties. And so, yeah, it may look weird for the time being with curb gutter sidewalk out there, and we may have a little bit of a stormwater issue we have to figure out, but at some point in the future, that'll be connected, and then we'll have those improvements and we won't have to pay for them at that time. So
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, and that's why we do suggest it. And the county will rule us, but we still go on record and still request it.
yeah, I mean, we've received public comment about concerns over pedestrian and bicyclist safety in that area. And so, I think the onus is on the city to continue to recommend those improvements to
Yeah.
be made because people are still going to walk and bike and need to get from point A to point B without getting in their car. And you need to have those facilities. So-
Right, yeah, there were safety things in here.
Hey, Rob.
Mike, what's been the history of the county not accepting the conditions like this that we would be making? Do they typically approve without doing it to city standards in most cases?
I think they accept all of our conditions except the improvements in the past, and I think they rely heavily on North Flaytop County Highway District and the concerns over plowing in the wintertime. I think with that input, they've been hesitant to impose the public improvement requirement just because of the concerns from the Highway District.
So it seems that it's incumbent upon us to make the recommendation, even knowing that it's not likely to be. I mean, if we were to not make that recommendation or condition or suggest that condition to the county, would we have some liability because we're not recommending to a city standard?
I don't know that we'd have liability. I think it's just a missed opportunity. I mean, if, we recommended the same condition across the street. I mean, if this subdivision was required to do it, I mean, we'd have this large segment. I mean, that's a pretty extensive amount of frontage that would now have curb gutter sidewalk on both sides of the street. And that
Well-
would just be so much, less roadway that would need to be improved when we get to that point. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 20 years, maybe it's longer, but at least we'd have those improvements and wouldn't have to somehow figure out capital improvement plan to be able to extend those beyond. Or if, development leapfrogged these developments and then you have a subdivision beyond that, it's just going to be pushed forward onto that developer because they're going to be required to connect and extend the
Mhm.
improvements down to somewhere another point in time, just
Do
because
you-
of the impact.
Do you recall our recommendation or our condition on the property on the other side?
It was the same.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would be inconsistent if we didn't do it
Right.
with this property as well. Okay.
Yeah, I think consistency is a big part of it. The city concern is infrastructure, and from city concern point of view, we require it. County may not think
Up
it's
to the county,
necessary
yeah.
and don't, but that's why we are doing a recommendation
Just,
for future city incorporation.
Go ahead, Nelson.
just to throw a little other, I hear the arguments that are kind of maybe a little a good bureaucratic argument, but we're with 3 lots like this. If it were, if it was a 20 lots, I wouldn't hesitate for a minute. But when you're developing 2 or 3 lots, it gets really tough to deal with, the bureaucracy the rules that we have are all about doing subdivisions, and we're somehow in the middle. We're not quite at a subdivision level. And I even worry about the roadway. This is a weird road, and it'll probably be there, but chances are it's going to get redesigned at some point, and it would. I hear this argument, but I'm not overtouched by it, because as you try to reconstruct this, only God knows why the road is in this strange shape that it is. And here we are, as many county roads are all over America. It's not unusual, I should say. But so I would be practically, I guess I would go understand what Scott's saying is you have some concrete out here and you got the guys in the middle of winter trying to plow the road and crunch into concrete all of a sudden. So anyway, I kind of lean in the other direction a little bit.
Dennis?
Go ahead, Joel.
I would point out that this proposed subdivision is really about a block and a half from US 95. It's not really that far out in the boonies.
It's true.
Okay.
Sue?
If you're worried about the snowplows, the county could put up the kind of markers like they do in Washington State, where it says blue and red, don't plow here, and blue and green, yes, you can plow there. I think we should be consistent with what's on the other side of the development. I think we learned our lesson with Canterwood in that we didn't do anything for Canterwood and their private street, and they have to plow it themselves. And at that time, people were really worried about the traffic because it's only a county road and it's not very wide. So if it were for 10 feet wider on both sides and to city standards and had sidewalks, people might slow down. So I think we should leave.
7:38 p.m.
I think we should leave the conditions.
I think I agree.
Private road, it's just going to be driveways off of mix. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What it looks like, yeah.
Okay. So there's no private streets to plow or anything. Everybody's got their own. And I would comment that, when you buy 100 acres, it's X amount of dollars. Well, way back in the early 70s, when I was buying country property, it would be like $1,000 an acre if it was 40 acres. If it was 1 acre, it was $10,000. Partly because these kinds of things are required. So if someone's going to buy a mini estate of 3-something acres in the country, that's part of what you pay for.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
I agree.
That's
I
all I
agree.
have to say.
I agree too. Okay, so in the discussion, unless anyone else has anything, Rob?
I move that we recommend approval with the conditions that were noted, recommend to the county that we approve both do we need separate motions on this, Mike, or can one motion do both the rezone and the subdivision?
It'd probably be cleaner, just two separate motions, one for the
Okay.
rezone, one for the subdivision. Yeah.
So I'm recommending the proposed rezone as noted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the rezone. Sue?
I,
Joel?
Aye.
Cole?
Aye.
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 Nels? Rob?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, that was moved. And now the proposed preliminary plat. Anybody want to take a hack at that?
Go for it. You just did. Do it.
Okay, so I recommend the proposed preliminary subdivision plat as proposed with the conditions noted by the city as a recommendation to the county.
Have a motion
Second.
and we have a second for the preliminary plat. So that's done. Check mark that. All right, thank you guys for coming, everyone.
We need to
oh, we
vote.
didn't
Oh,
vote.
sorry. Sorry. Victoria,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Nels.
Aye.
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 Cole.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now thank you guys for coming. Okay, we move on to number, what?
I have to.
Oh, go to RCS. Relevant criteria. Okay, that's number 2. Okay, we need a motion for that too, I guess, huh?
I move that we have staff prepare the RCS standards.
Second?
Nels second for the RCS. Okay, Sue?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Cole?
Aye.
Aye. Nels?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Victoria? Rob? All right. Relevant criteria is passed. Anything else, ma'am? Okay. We're going to the transportation report.
The
Joel?
Transportation Commission met a couple weeks ago. Main item of discussion was the report from the coast on the possible bus transportation between Moscow and Pullman and Colfax. Coast is proposing, and we talked a bit about some survey work which Coast had done, and concluding that a proposal dealing with those 3 cities made sense. And Coast is apparently in a position to actually do a rather limited amount of such a route over the next year or so. And I guess the answer is it will be interesting to see what the ridership will turn out to be. But it's not asking, at least Moscow, for money. So we'll see what turns out. The Transportation Commission meets on the 2nd. Thursday, which is tomorrow. So 4 o'clock in this room will be the next meeting. And the major item of the meeting is to talk about the multimodal transportation plan and look in some detail at the various proposed capital spending on transportation-related items over the next few
Wow.
years.
Well, even if
Interesting.
Coast only came to the state line, we'd be fine. I did have a couple things though that I guess one thing I should bring up from the, when you have if I can make a couple comments on the planning association meeting.
Okay.
You're done.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to do that next time, no?
We were, except there's a couple of ethics things that I think that I should tell you now before we screw up before the next meeting.
Was that all you have, Joel?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay, perfect. Well, Sue, go ahead and fill
Okay.
us in.
The one thing is that if there's like this property, like for example, we are not individually supposed to drive by it and look at it.
We know that.
I know, but then sometimes we say, oh yeah, I drove by there and
Just
if
Nell
you
says
do
that.
that, what happens is you have to stop, then renotice the public hearing, which is, I forgot how many days, 10 days, 2 days, yeah, and then redo it. Because if you do go by it, you either have to take everybody with you or you have to notify the applicant that you're going to do it and notify the city, the commission, the city that you're going to do it. So.
What if you live in Canterwood?
I,
Don't
You're right.
I'm
say,
just saying, do you want to have to wait 2 weeks and do it again?
no, you-
I'm just telling you.
I think it's
Don't
just
look.
intentional trips.
Yeah,
So if you just
intentional.
Well,
happen to
yes,
drive
intentional
by
trips,
As part of your
intentional
daily
trips.
commute, then that doesn't
Yeah,
count.
and you
It's
don't
just
live in
intentionally
Canterwood.
go out there.
Can't seek it out, huh?
So yeah, it was really, and one of the funny stories is that this city planner was at a meeting and he's trying to keep the commissioners and the city councilmen in line. And they were going to approve whatever. And one of the the commissioners said, wow, and I'm glad you're doing this. And I know you have a really good engineer. And all of a sudden the city planner thought, oh, that's his son-in-law. And so then they had to do the whole thing over.
No.
and
Yeah, we don't
recuse
want
themselves.
that.
But anyway, that's all. That was the only.
But we look forward to next meeting for further discussion on your American Planning Association meeting. Be fun.
That was fun.
Announcement, we have a book, fancy reading
Yay.
material here. Thank you, guys.
came from Nels.
That was Nils
Nils.
Peterson that, yeah,
Oh, Nels, okay.
Oh, from the conversation.
from the conversation when he came.
Okay, well, I'll tell Nels, thank you. That'll be an interesting read. Thank you. Upcoming events, meetings. Next meeting scheduled for October 23rd. We doing that one? Got a lot planned? Busy?
I think the only thing we have is just the approval of the relevant criterion standards.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to be at that meeting if it makes any difference for a quorum. So,
If
We'll
it's not
figure it
pressing.
out when the time comes, who all we got, huh?
Dennis,
I plan on being here.
could I add just on to Sue's, it occurred to me at one point in time that maybe we ought to have Mia come in and give us a briefing on ethics issues. If we.
A
if it's-
refresh.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Just, it's a thought. If we're running out of things to talk about at some point in time, maybe have her come in and chat with us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It was. So a meeting next October 23rd. That's our next meeting.
Maybe. That's a maybe.
Oh, it is?
Well, except for Sue's going to talk about the.
Well, I can always put that off, but
We've
does
got
the
Sue
reason
and approval
statement,
of this relative.
If we only have relative criteria, we may or may not. need.
well, can the applicant can go ahead with this process to the county before the relevant criteria are approved?
No, we need to approve the relevant
Okay.
criteria before they can go. I can check the schedule to see when they plan on going and then.
Okay,
we can-
because I wouldn't want to hold them up
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
just for
Yeah,
that.
like I said, I'll be around, I think, so I'll be here. If we can have a meeting. If not, we'll do it next
That's
time.
usually what determines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys got anything else? Mike, you got any announcements? Okay, we'll adjourn.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Well.